so glad everybody came today. Thank you for coming to the Flora-Bama Church. We want to welcome all our first-time guests. If this is your first time here, here's a big hand for you right now. We have kind of a unique church experience here because we're at the Flora-Bama. We have a saying here where it's on our poster over here where it's okay to not be okay. And by that, we just mean you're okay just as you are. We usually have between 50 and 100 first-time visitors every week, so don't feel like you're awkward, but you're welcome here every week. If you need more information, we have these big signs that say info on either side of the room, and that's where you can learn more about our church. You can get to know us. We like to get to know you. You can join a group. You can ask about baptism. After 11 o'clock, we'll be going out in the Gulf, and we're not afraid of a little cold weather. We'll be baptizing a couple of people at that time. Hey, I want to tell you about a couple things. Does everybody get a program? Anybody need one? You stick your hand up if you need one, and we'll get one. There you go. Somebody had it right next to you, handed it to you. There's a couple things I want to share with you about that. Over at the information table, we have these next step cards, and they're little cards you can fill out if you have a prayer request or you do want to sign up. And when you're done with those, you can go into the giving stations. So we have 3 of them. You can see the big sign say giving stations. And then there's one on the way out in case you slip by without having to give us money. And then you can just drop that in there. But let me talk a little bit about that part. So today we're kicking off an All is Bright effort. So part of our calling in the book of Matthew talks about Matthew 25, what you did for the least of these my brothers, you've done for me. We serve Christ back by helping families who are in prison. And the way we do that is we provide a Christmas for the kids of those families. And then through partnering with God Behind Bars, we literally have an event right here in Blackwater Prison, which is a Christmas Day. Their families come in, and the prisoners who are unable to buy gifts for their kids have gifts that you bought. And they're able to have this Christmas moment with their kids. It's a very cool effort. Thank you. Thank you. You want to sponsor a kid this Christmas, $47 will buy that kid more gifts than, or the parent for the kid, more gifts than they need. And we have a pretty lofty goal on how many kids we want to sponsor. But for $47, you can sponsor a child. You can do that in any increment you want. In your program is some math if you want to do it there. And then if you want to give by credit card today for All is Bright or for our ministry, right over here, that info table on that side, they have a machine that will be able to help you do that. And that's just a great way to get started and help people fulfill our ministry, which is to introduce people to Jesus and help them follow him. Hey, today we got some, we have very special, or if you haven't been here before, this is the way it is every week. But if you have been here before, no, we typically have our praise band. We have very special music as part of our Frank Brown International Songwriters Festival. Today's the last day, and I'm very excited to have the following 2 people up here. Anthony Crawford and Savannah Lee, they make up the duo Sugarcane Jane. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Real quick, how many people came today just because you knew they were going to be here? Stick your hand up. Yeah, so your fans are here too. That's very, you know, it's hard to get musician fans up at this early, so I'm very impressed y'all did that. Hey, so they are just phenomenal musicians. You've seen them all around. If you haven't, you're going to get a real blessing today. And I'd like to turn it over to Sugarcane Jane.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. This is a confirmation that we're doing something right to get the privilege to be here with you today. And we're going to start out with a sing-along. Everybody knows this, and somebody had to write this, so it is a songwriter, so we don't, you know.
Some bright morning when this life is old, goodness. Thank you all so much.
How you doing? I normally have a hard time talking to people. Believe it or not, I have stage fright. I'm 61 years old. I've been doing this for over 40-something years, and it's never easy. But today, well, we kind of gathered up in a little circle here and prayed about it. And believe it or not, I'm a man of faith, and I have my own story to tell. And I won't bore you with that one. See, that's messing up already. But I'm 61, and I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a beautiful wife. And it's never too late to have a good life. There's no doubt about it. I'm a blessed man. And I want to sing to you a song that I wrote about how we got together. It's a little sing-along, tap your toes song. Feel free to sing along with us. Well, I followed my dream to the path of a crow, all the way to the music row. Fell in love when I heard her sing, so I packed my bag and my old 6-string. I headed south in an all-out run to the arms of my woman. Had 2 daughters and a son. Built us a house at the dirt road's end. That's just how this story begins. With no regret to the past I claim. Started a band. We call it Sugarcane Jane. Well, the road of life with its twists and turns, there's always a lesson out there to learn. I was busting my hump, but gaining on ground like a rat on the wheel, going round and round. Comes a time when I knew in my heart had to give it up and get a new start. Never in my life have I felt so free, like a bird on a branch of a live oak tree. Keep your fortune and you keep your fame, staying right here with my Sugarcane Jane.
Y'all sing this with us here.
And we'll sing na 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 we got friends that come to the shows about everything that we record, making a living and we're doing what we love, sending the praise to the man above, especially knowing where we've been, losing it all to get it back again. I thought it was luck, but I dare say things don't often happen this way. Levon, Dusty, and Loretta Rain, they come from the love we call Sugarcane Jane. And we'll sing na 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 na
That is a true story.
All right, well, you know, having those 3 kids, there's a lot that you have to tell them about what I personally went through, things that were just like, I can't believe I made it to where I am. I mean, physically, I did some very foolish things. But my dad was a good man, and he always was a cautious person. We would be riding down the highway, and a truck would be in front of us, probably going to the dump or something, and it had all this stuff piled on it, and they'd have it strapped down. But he said, you know, you got to think of your alternatives out here on the highway. I was thinking, yeah, what you talking about? And he said, well, if something falls off that truck, you got to know what you're going to do. Just can't wait till the last minute. And I never understood that until later. I just thought, well, okay. And that's what my son does to me. He just like, don't do that. And he just looks at me with this blank stare. But I got to thinking about this song, and it's called Find the Good in Everybody. There's a reference to just because a porch has a railing, it doesn't mean that it's safe to lean it on.
always thought our first daughter's, her first words were going to be careful. Because Anthony got all that from his dad, apparently, because everything she did, careful, careful.
Celebrate this life we're living.
This life we're living.
You make the best of every day. Look for the good in everybody. There you find the good in everything. Now just because that porch has got a railing, it does not mean that it's safe for leaning. You gotta use your head for more than button. You gotta think about everything. Everybody sing along. Now celebrate this life we're living. Look the best of every day. Use the world, better place to live in. For Mother Earth, show your concern. I messed it up, but that's okay, right? I'm making a mess of this, but that's okay, right? Thank you. Forgiveness is a good thing, isn't it? See, God just did that to me to say that. He's using me. Thank you, God. Hi. Come on, God, give it to me. Now teach it to your sons and daughters. Everything that you have learned. Yeah, you leave this world a better place to live in. For Mother Earth, show your concern.
Y'all help us out now.
Celebrate this life we're living. You make the best of every day. Look for the good in everybody. Find the good in everything. Find the good in everything. All right. Thank you now. I've been messing up my whole life. What's different about today? Anybody heard of the Louvin brothers? Okay, well, good. Here's a song that they have that I just love this song. And we're going to do it for you today. Even see, they're songwriters. We're celebrating songwriters here today. But we write all our songs, but this is a good one. Not a home was a picture Satan painted for sweet little sister and me. Our daddy would frown while mother was praying. His heart was so hardened that he would not believe. Swear, his voice cold and loud. His Sundays were spent out with the gambling crowd. I've never seen my daddy inside the house of God. For Satan held his hand down the path of sin he trod. Our circle was broken when God called on Mother one night. In a voice sweet and low, her last words were spoken, asking our daddy to raise her children right. The angels rejoiced in heaven last night. I heard my daddy praying, "Dear God, make it right." He was smiling and singing with tears in his eyes, while Mother with the angels rejoiced last night. While Mother with the angels rejoiced last night. Thank you now.
So I have to say, you know, we like he said, we're blessed with these 3 children, but we thought we were done after the first 2, and that third one was like a real shock to our system.
Everybody says, "Don't you know what causes that?" We found out it's snow. So now we know.
But we were really seriously questioning God at that time when we found out we were pregnant with Dusty, and we didn't know what we were going to do because, you know, we had this momentum with our career, and we had just came out with Dirt Road's End, and it was doing well, you know, on radio, and we felt like we could just kind of see the light, you know. I guess Levon was probably about 3 and Loretta was 5, and so you know, we questioned God, right? We just like, show me a sign, and he did. He showed us a sign that night. We had a friend of ours release an article that said why we love Sugarcane Jane is told by friends and fans. And we read that article, and it had hundreds of comments on it from our friends telling us how they love us, but what they love about us the most was our family. And so I've only read those comments one time because I get so choked up. But Dusty has been the biggest blessing to us. She was the baby we never had, the easiest baby, the one that, you know, you see other people with their little child just sitting there quietly.
But things have changed.
Well, yeah,
They have.
It's a different story now.
Changed.
She's almost 3, so she's turned into a little Hitler. But back then it was awesome. I said, thank you, God, because I could put her down in the crib and actually put a blanket on her, and she would wave bye to me, like, and she would go right to sleep. I was like, what is this? Thank you, Lord. Gosh, I never knew this existed, but so thankful for Dusty now, and so don't question God. He knows what he's doing.
All right. That's my wife, Savannah Lee, right there. She's the reason why we have Sugarcane Jane, that is for sure. Here's a song that I always try to leave myself wide open for the Spirit to come and move me when we write lyrics, and most of my songs have some sort of input from, you know, my faith. But this song right here is about, when you're around your loved ones, you never know if that's going to be the last time you see them. So this is a song about that. I woke up in pain this morning, having her way inside my head, and I felt the world was coming to an end. As I placed my feet to the floor, I felt the chill of last night's dream there to remind me once again, never do we know if this will be the last time that we look into each other's eyes. And never do we know if this will be the last time we say goodbye. Well, you could be delayed from one last kiss, life second held, life back to miss what otherwise would be a different day. 'Cause out of nowhere the end could come, that red light runner that you don't see. Slow down and look both ways and get home to me. Get home to me. Never do we know if this will be the last time that we look into each other's eyes. And never do we know if this will be the last time we say goodbye. Inconvenient traffic jams and the crying baby. That very thing that slows you down could be the very thing that keeps you around. Never do we know if this will be the last time that we look into each other's eyes. Never do we know if this will be the last time we say goodbye. This last song we're going to do, I have a friend that struggles with addiction problems. He has all his life. We've been friends for over 50 years. He commissioned us to do a CD in honor of his mom. And part of that was he wanted me to write a song for his mom, but I didn't know his mom that well. But I felt like that I woke up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and this song came to me, and I immediately recorded it. And I think that it was his mom writing the song for her son. And it's interesting how it came about, but it's called The Good Wolf. you were dying. Woke up this morning, reality so close. You were flat in all black clothes. I woke up this morning, the wrong wolf ate your soul. Woke up this morning, your story had been told. I cried like a baby to see it in this way. You could not hear me or what I had to say. Words given to me to sing to you this day. You feed the good wolf give you gold. You feed the good wolf save your soul. You feed the good wolf give you gold. You feed the good wolf save your soul. Thank you.
Oh, come on, guys, give it up. Sugarcane Jane, so awesome.
Thank you all very much.
Oh my goodness. So much love. Thank you so much. We're so blessed to be here. Thank you.
Man, so good, huh? Sorry, you got me now. I know. Listen, I want to talk for just a minute about that last song, that Good Wolf song. But before we do, I just got to tell you a couple things. Really quickly, over here, I don't know if John, you even mentioned it, but Sugarcane Jane, both Anthony and Savannah, all their stuff's over there. Why don't we just all buy them out first service, right? Don't leave anything for that second service. That'd be great. And then also, John mentioned what we're doing for the incarcerated families with All Is Bright. It's in your program. We're not going to go over it again. But Johnson, we've got this lofty goal. I want to tell you what our goal is, okay? And it's pretty lofty, but I know we can pull it off together as a church family. We buy presents for incarcerated parents so those parents can become the heroes of their family again. And once a year, really, most of these kids get to see their moms or their dads, and we get a chance to give them a Christmas they would never, ever have. Last year, we were able to sponsor 673 kids. That is awesome. Especially our goal was 550. So we hit 673. That's amazing. So, since we exceeded that goal, we hit 673, we figured, well, why don't we just about double it? So here's my goal. Here's my goal, 1,250. That's our goal. And I know we can do it as a church. So listen, I know it's big, right? But and that's not even the number of kids that we could be doing in the two counties that are right here. It's just a portion of them. And so one day it'd be great to be able to say we did all of the kids, but let's shoot for 1,250. It's a bunch. It's only $47 a kid. When's the last time you even bought a gift for $47? You know what I'm saying? That's 4, 5, 6 gifts for a kid. And so stop by the info table, put it in we'll take all the money you got to buy those presents, okay? We'll take it after you buy CDs and stuff, okay? So this song, I got to hear this song. If you guys haven't heard Anthony and Savannah's new CD, I got to hear this song, and it really moved me. And I want to read. I don't know if you've ever heard this kind of old Native American Cherokee parable before, but I want to read it to you. Because I heard it years ago and never thought about it again until I heard this song. Here's what it says. An old Cherokee elder, it's not in your program or anything, I'm just going to read it. An old Cherokee elder is walking and teaching his grandson about life. And he says to his grandson, a fight is going on inside of me. How many of you guys have heard this parable before? Oh, good. Most of you haven't. Nice. Okay. He said to his boy, a fight is going on inside of me. It's a terrible fight between two wolves. One wolf is evil. He is anger and envy, sorrow and greed, regret, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other, he is joy and peace. He is hope and love, serenity and humility, kindness and benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. And he said to his grandson, the same fight is going on the inside of you and in every other person too. The grandson thought for a moment, turned to his grandfather and said, but grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee elder simply replied, the one you feed. It's a pretty interesting story, right? I love those reactions when I read something. Ooh. Because it's thought-provoking, right? Now, there's all kinds of things within that you could pull out and talk about, and those lists of what the good wolf is and the bad wolf is, and the idea of which one you feed and what does that look like. There's all kinds of nuances within it, but what's most interesting to me about this story is that, what's most interesting to me about this story is that it's not a new concept. That idea has been talked about and wrestled with for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years. In fact, there's this really interesting letter that was written about 49 AD. About 49 AD, this letter was written by this devoted Christ follower named Paul. Now, Paul is this first century Jewish church leader, and he is one of the founding fathers of our Christian faith when it comes to the churches being started. He actually traveled on what like you and I would call missions trips. He would travel around and preach the message of Jesus and start these little churches in homes all over. In an area that's considered like now modern day Turkey, but back then it was a little community called Galatia. He had started all these churches, and they were kind of getting sideways a little bit. He had visited, started, preached, but they had gotten sideways a little bit, and so he wrote a letter back to them. He wrote a letter back to them, again, about 49 AD. And I want to read a piece of this piece of this letter. And if you want to read the whole letter, we've got it right in the New Testament. It's the book of Galatians. But I want to read a piece of this letter in the 6th chapter. If you got your program, you can open it up. The couple scriptures that we're going to be reading. To be honest, this idea of good wolf, bad wolf, and which wolf to feed is spattered throughout the New Testament and the Old Testament. It's throughout Jesus' teachings. And so I love that parable because there's so much truth within it. Paul says it like this. He says, those who live only to satisfy, or we could say feed, in context of this parable that we just read, for those who live to satisfy or feed their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from that sinful nature. But those who live to please, or we could say to feed the Spirit, will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. Now, Paul is using very specific spiritual language, right? He's talking to spiritual people that have made a decision to follow Christ. And he's talking about these two worlds that live within us. Or we could say two wolves that are in a fight within us. And he's saying if you feed one part of it, there's a result, right? Now, the old Cherokee told his grandson, whichever one you feed, that one will win the fight. But we all know that fight isn't just like one fight, right? We've all had times where we fed the good wolf, and what happens? Good, right? But that doesn't mean once you feed the good wolf once, then you're done. You get to tap out and all good from now on. No more mistakes, right? No more pain. Ooh, that was easy, No, it's not true. Yeah, no, it's not true, right? So we know it's an ongoing battle. Paul is saying that using spiritual terms for these two wolves, that within us, we can feed either the good, the spirit within us, or we can feed the sin within us. And then there was a result. The result for the grandfather and the grandson is, he has a little list there of all the things that the bad wolf represents, the good wolf represents. But for Paul, here's what he says the results are. Depending on which wolf wins, the bad wolf, if you'll feed that sin in your lives, here's the result. He says it will harvest decay and death. Bad comes out of feeding bad. That's not rocket science, right? But how often do we need to be reminded of that? A parable is a parable. That story has been passed down because of the weight of truth within it. This letter was kept and put in the Bible because of the weight of the truth within it. And you don't have to be a Christ follower to look at Galatians 6:8 and say, yes, and I can prove it to you in my own life. When I feed the bad within me, the list that he made, like pride and arrogance, envy, when we feed those things, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Ask someone with an addiction today if they wouldn't have wished they'd have gone back in time and not fed that addiction, right? And then the opposite is true. When you not only feed one, but in feeding one, what happens to the other? You starve out the other. And there are moments where I have felt spiritually weak. Have you ever felt spiritually weak? And it seems as if you want to do right, but the good within you has been so starved out, and the kind of the sin or the bad within us has been so fed, it's almost hard to do right even when you want to. Have you ever wanted to forgive someone, but you just don't have the strength, and it's beyond them just being an idiot, right? Like they are, but I just feel too weak to even forgive. Not to say you're sorry, just to forgive somebody. Have you ever felt too weak to do what's right because you just feel, this is a weird thing to say, but you feel spiritually exhausted? I have. And oftentimes, maybe not a blanket statement as always, but oftentimes I can look back and say, it's because of which one I've been feeding, but also because of which one I've been starving. When I'm starving spiritually, I am the worst version of myself. I really am. You ask my family, you know. I am the worst version of myself. And it's almost as if when I'm starved spiritually, the things I don't want to do, the things I know I shouldn't do, it's almost like they pull me towards themselves. Here, let's read one more verse together because Paul sums that up perfectly. He wrote this letter to Christians in Rome. Here's how he explains it better than I can. He says, don't you realize you become the slave to whatever you choose to obey? You can be a slave to sin, which leads to death, or you can choose to obey God, which leads to righteous living. I have felt that way. That's the best way that I can explain it is when I am starving spiritually, like in here, it feels like I become a slave to my desires that are evil or wicked or unkind or prideful, and almost as if they're controlling me at times. You ever just, right when you're saying it and the whole time you're thinking, shut up, don't say it, blah, 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 you know? It's almost like you can't help it. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever been in an argument with a loved one, or those are the best, you know, they're the worst. They are the worst. You say the craziest crap with someone like when you get in an argument with someone you don't know that well, you're almost tamed. Which shouldn't it be the opposite? People you argue that you love, shouldn't you tame your mouth a little bit? Not me, ma'am. Anyways, I see myself, I'm standing there and I can picture myself where this is gonna go, right? And it's not gonna go good. And I'm thinking, just stand there, just listen, smile, which always helps when you're arguing, smiling, you get punched in the face, you know. But But I can see myself up here staying calm and cool and collect. I've shared before that my life verse is James 1:19. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to get angry. And I'm reciting that thing in my head. Dan, just be slow to speak. That means shut up, Be slow to speak, slow to get angry. And then boom, I go off. What the heck, It's almost like I want to do right, but sometimes I'm a slave to stupidity, I'm a slave to doing wrong. And that's exactly what Paul is saying here. That's the parable of the good wolf and the bad wolf in this war that you and I have going on in the inside of us. Is that when we feed what is good and pure and holy, when we feed our spirits, when we're nourished and doing well, we're strong. We're not perfect, but we're stronger. We're not perfect, but we're more in control. We're not perfect, but as we start to feed our spirits, we feed spiritually that other wolf in us, that sin, that death and decay, it starts to starve out. It starts to starve out. It's this amazing thing that you and I have. I would say of all the blessings and powers this is an amazing power that God has given us. It's the power to choose. You know how amazing that is? That you and I get to make choices in our life? That we're not just wound up robots going through life? It's amazing. God has gifted you with the power of choice. You get to choose. And that's great news, and it's difficult news, but it's more great than difficult because at the end of the day, if you are starving spiritually, it's your fault. But that's also great news because if you're starving spiritually and it's your fault, you can change it. If it wasn't your fault, what could you do about it? Nothing, right? That's my kids' favorite phrase on planet Earth at our house. It wasn't my fault, right? Someone comes in bleeding. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. I didn't even ask you. They just want to make sure I know. Because if it's not your fault, then there's no repercussions for your actions, right? Right? If it's not, Abraham comes flying in, we can hear kids screaming, crying, bloody murder in the backyard on our trampoline. The first thing we hear is, I didn't do it, it's not my fault, right? Well, it's weird because you're standing right next to him. And anyways, but if you can say, not my fault, then you don't have to take any responsibility for it. But then also the results are out of your hands. If you want it to change and it's not your fault, then you can't change it. Good news is the feeding of these two wolves is completely dependent on the choices that you and I make. 100%. Not even 99%. 100% is on you and I. And we can choose to feed one or feed the other. And we can choose to starve one or starve the other. Now, I'm going to ask a really dumb question because I know what the answer is, but I think it'll be very important for us to wrap up on what we do next if we can all, or at least if you and I can answer this question honestly, right? It may be so obvious to you I shouldn't need to ask it, but do you want in your life a harvest of decay and death? Now, I know you may need a minute to think about that. So I'll give you a second. Is that your desire? When you look to your future, when you look at a month from now, we're coming up on 2019. It's like around the corner, right? Would you like to say, man, 2019, I cannot wait for more decay and death? Yeah. No, of course not. Of course that would not be what you want. And then in Romans 6:16, do you want to become a slave to sin, which leads to death? Do you want that in your life? Now, I don't know all of you, but I'm going to guess for the majority of us, the answer is no. I don't want to get to this time next year and say, oh man, wasn't all that death, decay, and terribleness, wasn't it an awesome year? Now, I don't want to make light of it because I know that regardless of which wolf we feed, there's going to be some pain. There's going to be sorrow. There's going to be hurt. There's going to be some death and decay in life. We live in a broken world, don't we? It's broken. But as much as it depends on you and me and the feeding of those two wolves, you and I get to choose to feed one and starve the other. And oftentimes, the first step to take is not just to stop feeding one, but to start feeding the other. Not just to be like, okay, I'm done, I quit. No, if you just were to divert attention to feed another. Now, the great news for you and I, those of us that are Christ followers, see, Jesus has completely forgiven and set us free from sin. That is amazing news, and it's only through Jesus Christ. See, what Jesus did for us with his life, his death, his burial, and his resurrection is he purchased freedom from our sin. And he's given us new life. And he's given us a new path, a new way. But because he has also given us the power to choose, we can continue to feed the sin that we've been forgiven of and set free of. And so you and I continue to feed it, and it will get stronger, and it will get stronger. And even though you and I don't have to be slaves to that anymore, we can re-enslave ourselves to it just by feeding it. And you and I know that, right? We've been, those of us that are Christ followers, we've been pulled by that nature in our lives. So we know it can still happen even though we're forgiven and even though Christ has set us free and freedom is ours. But sin, listen, sin and death, decay, evil, wrongdoing, those things don't have to have the final say in our lives. They don't get the last word, but they will if you feed them. They will have the last say in our lives if you feed it. So where do we go? If this parable is true, though that Cherokee parable isn't found necessarily in the Bible, it's truth, right? It's absolutely true. There's these two wolves at war with inside of us, and you can use any phrase you want, whether wolves or whatever you want, but there's battle within us. And you have been forgiven for giving into that wolf, that bad wolf. Christ is not holding your sin against you. And if you open up your life and your heart to Jesus Christ, his forgiveness comes and his love comes and he transforms us. But now as we move forward in life and as we live life, we have to choose which to feed. And sometimes the very first step we have to take is the acknowledgement that we can't do it on our own. God, I've got this wolf in my life and it's tearing me apart and I can't beat it on my own. And Jesus, I need you. And for some of us, we've made that decision. We're here today and we've made that decision. But for some of us, we've never made that decision before. We've never opened up our lives to the love and the forgiveness of Jesus Christ. And today can be that day for you. That stuff, your past, that pain, all of that does not have to have the final word in your life. Forgiveness can, and freedom can. And then what do? How do we move forward? Once we've opened up our lives to Christ, we ask God, can I just give you a couple things that I do? I ask God for the strength to feed the good wolf, to be fed spiritually. And I usually start with a really simple prayer. God, I need your help today. What a great simple prayer. So let me just lob this question out to you. When's the last time you really prayed that prayer? Today, God, I know I've got these two wolves, right? I need your help to be strong enough to feed the good wolf. And then the second place I go is God's word. If God's word's not a part of your daily life, can I just tell you, you don't have to read the Bible every day to go to heaven, right? It's not a thing. God's keeping track of how many chapters you read today and how many hours we spent. We kind of read the Bible like that sometimes, like it's a textbook. This isn't a textbook. It's alive and living, and it's nourishment for our souls. If you want to feed the good wolf, start in the Bible. It's a great place to start. And then you need some other people in your life. Can I tell you? When I am at my worst, I'm usually not praying. I'm usually not in God's word. And I'm usually secluded from other people. And for me, maybe not you, but for me, I need it often. I need prayer often. And I need God's words often. And I need people asking me and pushing me and digging into my life often. Often. Hey, I don't think we mentioned this. Ladies, listen. We've got a ladies gathering coming up. So in your program on the back, look at the back real quick. We've got our church email, which is, right at the bottom there, Flora-Bama Essentialline.tv. Listen, we've got a huge ladies Christmas party coming up. It's going to be a blast. There's going to be food and ornament exchanges. Don't ask me why, but I'm sure you ladies are excited about it. Okay. But go. We want you to go. And all you have to do is email, hey, I want to go to this Christmas thing Dan said or something. Just email that email. Ladies gathering. It's December 8th. It's on a Saturday. If you could be there, we want you to be there. RSVP by emailing that email. And I would say, even if you're not interested in ornaments or anything like that, I would say, ladies, go, because we need each other. And I need you and you need me. And sometimes I need the other people more than they need me at that moment. But there are moments where they need me more than I need them. And if we're not helping each other grow, we're going to slowly starve. We're going to slowly starve. So ladies, go and meet some other great ladies. And if you don't have someone in your life that's pushing you a little bit, find just somebody to push you a little bit. I value friends because I know I'm better with them. I value knowing that I've got some men in my life that are praying for me. Listen, they're praying for me every day, and God, do I need it? Do you need it? Could you use some prayer every day? Yeah, I could. Start feeding that good in the spirit within you. Start feeding that good wolf. And if you're not sure how to break loose of this bad wolf, just start starving that sucker. Just start starving him. And take that same attention, energy, and feed the other wolf. Feed your spirit. Because here's what Paul promises. When you feed the good wolf, it says you will harvest everlasting life. Now that sounds like something a lot better than death and decay. That's our harvest when we feed the good wolf. Let me say a prayer for you guys today. Would you bow your heads with me? Lord, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your love. I'm grateful for as much as I have fed that bad wolf at times, and I've been starving spiritually. You're not mad. You love and you forgive, and you're there to help us and strengthen us. So Lord, for those of us that are here today that have never made that decision to open up our lives to your love and your forgiveness, I pray today would be that day. That death and sin and all that evil, past pain and guilt, Lord, that would not have the final word in our lives, but you would. Your forgiveness and your freedom would mark our lives forever. And I'm going to pray that prayer, Lord, today, not just for me, but for my church family. Give us the strength today. Help us to feed that good wolf, to feed our spirit so that we can reap everlasting. The result would be this everlasting life. And give us the strength to starve out, say no to today that bad wolf. We pray these things in Jesus' name. The Flora-Bama family said, amen. Yeah. Man, how great was Sugarcane Jane today. So good. Now I'm going to say this again. You have a chance to give to All Is Bright today. Help some kids that are families are incarcerated. Let's wipe out their merch table right over here before you guys leave today. And I don't know what you're going to face this week, but I do know this. Romans 8 tells us that if God is for us, who can be against us? We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
And I only hope that the devil doesn't push me to the end of my rope. Who's gonna win this battle for my soul? Yeah, yeah. I wake up in the morning on the wrong side of the bed. There's a war raging inside my head, and it's all I can do just to smile at my wife. Something evil's taking over my life. There's a battle for my soul, and I am helpless, and I only hope that the devil doesn't push me to the end of my rope. Who's gonna win this battle for my soul? Yeah, yeah. Well, I try to think of the good things that I've learned through the years. And there was a day when I knew no fear. But it's my time now, and I hear my number, and I can't turn away and run any longer. There's a battle for my soul. I am helpless, and I only hope that the devil doesn't push me to the end of my road. Who's gonna win this battle for my soul? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
God bless y'all.
Thank y'all.